This is the Investor Mindset Podcast, and I'm Steven Pesavento. And for as long as I can remember, I've been obsessed with understanding how we can think better, how we can be better, and how we can do better. And each episode, we explore lessons on motivation and mindset from the most successful real estate investors and entrepreneurs in the nation. Mindsetters, another phenomenal episode in the books. Lauren Hardy just got done with a phenomenal conversation. This single mother has been building her real estate business since 2011, and it's amazing to hear her story of going from the corporate world into investing and not really getting caught up along the way. We talk about some current challenges she's dealing with. We talk about past challenges, but more importantly, we talk about this idea of figuring out a way to make things happen, to not let the excuses get in the way, but actually make those excuses the reason why we have to be able to move forward. So I don't want to spoil anything. It's a phenomenal episode. If you guys like the podcast, if you like this episode, please make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell and so you get notified, and drop us a review on your favorite podcasting app. It helps us reach so many more people, and we really want to impact as many as we can with this phenomenal investor mindset. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode. All right, Mindsetters, welcome back to another fun episode. I have Lauren Hardy in the studio today. How you doing, Lauren?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing phenomenal. And Lauren is an incredible investor who flips houses and wholesales remotely. She originally started her career locally in Orange County, California, and quickly shifted gears to focus out of state when the market started to get really competitive. And I know firsthand all about that. I was in Orange County back in the day, and she's a mother of two, and she's kicking butt at what she does, and I'm really excited to dig into some of her background. You ready to get into it with me here?
I am.
All right. Well, obviously, from what I know about you, you've grown, you're doing so many great things these days, but why don't we start up by taking a look back? What events or influences from your childhood shaped who you are today?
Whoa, that's deep. I didn't know we were going to get that deep this early on. Well, a big one would be I had a mom who, she really worked really hard. She was an immigrant, and all she knew was hard work, and she worked in IT. She worked easily 65 hours a week, corporate life. So I didn't see my mom very much. But, and she was, despite everything, she was a wonderful mom, but she was at work a lot. And I saw her, working just really, really, really hard and not being around for some of the more important moments, of my life, and just kind of missing out on stuff. It was sad. She missed out on a lot of, fun things that she could have been doing. But, she was kind of trapped in her office, quite a bit. So I would say I always went in, knowing or wanting, some sort of my own business or flexibility when I was having kids, because I didn't want my kids to have the same situation.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's kind of like that impact has designed how your business and personal life is really set up now, just kind of hearing that. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I wasn't as money focused as I was more like freedom of schedule focused.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was it? Obviously she came over, she was an immigrant. She had this drive, she had to make money, she had to make ends meet. How has that kind of impacted your life as well, or the way that you look at the world?
Well, my mom, it's like no excuses. You've got like the parent that was like, I traveled 2 miles in the snow to walk to school or whatever. My mom was like, I came from Iran, and we moved to Compton and had nothing. And we had to work 3 jobs to not only afford the apartment we lived in, but also put ourselves through college. So I don't want to hear your excuses. So I definitely, my mom always reminded me that I'm very blessed. My parents, paid for my college. I never had to worry about a roof over my head up until, I moved out of the house. I didn't have to worry about helping contribute, to pay the bills when I was 16, like my mom did. So Yeah, I mean, I would say she definitely gave me that kind of like no BS, no excuses. Like anytime I want to come up with an excuse, I hear like my mom in the background, like, wah, 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 wah. I don't want to hear it. So yeah, that was definitely, I would say she's a big motivator for me. But I didn't want her life. I didn't want to work 65 hours a week. Like that's not for me. So yeah.
There's something really to that immigrant drive. We hear a lot about it when you look at the number of immigrants that move and start very successful businesses or work in very successful roles in companies. It's actually a much higher percentage than people who were born and raised in America. And obviously part of that is the fact that they came here, they were already more motivated than maybe some of the folks who weren't able to come here. But there's something about that, and it seems like being able to take and apply some of the good within that has probably driven you to a lot of the success while also realizing you don't want to just be a slave to your work.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say that the difference between like my mom and like some of my family members is like they don't have this inherent entitledness that like maybe I did because I lived here. So it's like America's all I know. I'm a little entitled. We're entitled to school being free. And everybody gets an education here, and everybody, I mean, most of my friends went to college and didn't have to pay for it. So with, having an immigrant parent, she always reminded me that it wasn't like that for her. So, they definitely don't have the entitlement issues, I think, that some of us have here. But, again, I could go a little bit, too far where it's like all they think of to do is hard work. I would say they work hard, but not smart. And I also was blessed that I had my dad on the other end, who was a college professor. Had an awesome schedule. Like he'd always joke, I only work, I work half the year. So he had like the really cool flexible schedule. So I saw like the combination of both. And I thought, okay, well, if I could have like my dad's mentality of not having to work as many hours, but then my mom's like hard work, and kind of combine them together, it might work out where I don't have to work as hard. I just work smarter and make the same amount of money. And that was my goal.
Yeah, that's huge. And so I know just a little bit about your background. You were working in the corporate world before, but tell me, what are you doing right now as an investor? What's that kind of, what's your current primary focus?
Primary focus right now is volume wholesaling. And I actually wholesale, or my primary market is out of state. So I live in Orange County, California, but my market territory is in Oklahoma. And we're primarily just assigning contracts. So it's all wholesaling right now. I'm not flipping very many homes.
And so you had been flipping quite a few homes, both in Orange County, in your current market, and in other markets that you were working in before. What made you decide to kind of change focus recently?
I think it's where the market's at. A lot of my flips last year, they weren't as profitable as I thought. I sort of noticed that the market was turning a little bit on me, going a little flat. But on the wholesale side, I've been able to push my fees quite a bit. There's still a lot of hungry investors. So it's been easier after a flip was done, I would look back and go, God, what would I have made if I just wholesaled this thing? And realizing that the price was almost, pretty close. So to cut out like 6 months of headache and holding costs and all the risk, I thought, forget it. I'm just going to wholesale these things instead and focus on that. So I moved to a more volume wholesale model. I like it. But that doesn't mean that I, won't flip a home. I will probably get back into flipping if the market, if we see the market soften up a little bit, I'll definitely get back into flipping. Hopefully here in my local market would be ideal. So, yeah.
I think there's a really important mindset that Lauren has right here that I want to point out, is that she recognized, and many other investors have recognized, where their strengths are in the current market, because we can try to fit our strategy into a different market. And in 2011, flipping every single house you buy and doing all the work yourself works in nearly every market in the country. But when you're remote and you're doing these things, you kind of figure out, well, hey, what's working now for me that we can make the most money and also not lose our butt, because I've been in a similar situation, Lauren, myself. So I know exactly what you're going through.
Yep, definitely.
So talk to me a little bit about this process of transitioning from being a corporate person, working in the corporate world, to getting started in real estate. I know that for you, it wasn't like a light switch where you just said, I'm done and I'm now a full-time real estate investor. Walk us through that process for you and how you thought about making that change so you could kind of be sustainable for your family.
Right on, right on. Well, I would say a topic I don't bring this up very much, but it really did start with a really bad boss. I had the worst boss ever. And this guy made me so motivated to never want a boss ever again. Every day, he fueled my fire to want to start my own company. So I could be a good boss and treat my employees with respect and kindness. But B, to kind of like hold my middle finger up to him one day. And I did actually get that moment. It was really interesting. So I definitely, it started with a bad boss, and this guy planted this seed. And every day I started thinking about like, what can I do? I need to be self-employed. Like, I don't care what it is. I'm going to start a business. And I just started getting these ideas. Like, I was just like, okay, anything I looked at, I'd be like, how can I sell that? How can I repackage that? Maybe I could sell that on Amazon. Like, I didn't care what it was. I was going to start a company. And then it wasn't like until I was just at a barbecue and I was talking with my brother, and he had started flipping homes actually a couple years prior to me. And I don't know why, it was never something I thought about doing ever. It just didn't come to me like to do that. But I said, you actually have a really cool schedule. Why? Maybe I should do what you do. He said, yeah, definitely. So he gave me some courses to read over. I found Bigger Pockets online. Like, I found some cool podcasts to listen to, and I just dove into the information. So I spent, I would say, like, maybe a couple months, like, educating myself, like learning, like, what's the business? How do people make money? Like, just kind of A to Z. How do you flip a house, right? As soon as I felt like I knew enough, it was like go time. And I just went for the marketing aspect of it. I kept my corporate job. So I did keep, I stayed at my corporate job, and my goal was, okay, if I can replace my income, if I could have enough for 1 year in savings, if I don't make another dime, at least I have a year in savings of my corporate income, then I will quit my job. So it took me about a year to get to that point. I flipped a few homes, and it was 2011. It was a good time. And I was able to, stash away in savings my income for a year. And coincidentally, I was pregnant during that time. I had a daughter who was 1.5, and then I was pregnant with my second daughter. And so right when she was born was right when I like closed that last flip that like gave me that, income marker that I needed saved up. And so I just didn't go back after my maternity leave. And that was a big day, like to call my boss. I was super nervous, like, oh, by the way, I'm not coming back. This is obvious. A lot of people do that. But it was a big moment to be like, I quit. Like, I'm done. I'm done punching a clock. And that's like, it was crazy to hit that level.
But what an empowering moment, though, to hate a job because it's just, you're working for somebody who isn't respecting what you're doing. You're just not feeling good in that role. And to be able to set yourself up to be able to actually get the heck out of there and say, hey, you know what? I'm not coming back, and I'm not worried about it. And I don't care if I burn the bridge and burn the whole place down on my way out. I know that I'm set.
Yeah. No, definitely. It was a huge moment. It was, I think when you set a goal like that and you think about it every single day, several times a day, to then finally reach that goal, it's a big deal. And it's not just about money. For me, it wasn't a whole lot of money that I was looking to make. It was all about, I just don't want to punch the clock anymore. I don't want boss anymore. If my kid gets sick, I don't want to have to explain why I have to take the day off. That's all I wanted. And it was a huge moment for me.
That's an incredibly motivating moment to be able to get that freedom. And it sounds like you're able to get there. One thing I want to talk a little bit about here, because I think it'll really touch a lot of our listeners, is this whole idea of, you're a single mom, two amazing kids, and you built this business while being a mom. And I think for all the people out there, I'd love to hear kind of what's your philosophy and why you think you're able to do it. Because what I hear from a lot of people is, oh, I can't do this because I have young kids.
Yeah, well, definitely it's tough. Young kids make it hard to do just about anything. Try like going to Costco with them on a Sunday. It's tough. But, I would say one of the, something I learned early on is you can't waste time. So I don't have a lot of time to waste. So I focus on only the items that make money in my day. Like every day I'm like, okay, what are the 3 things that I can do that actually put money in my pocket? And I focus on those items first, and I get those things done before I do anything else. I think when people don't have kids, they have a lot of time to waste. So they get on Facebook forums and they get on, I don't know, blogs and they listen to a ton of podcasts. I mean, no offense, you listen to this one, but I mean, they almost overdo it. They kind of get an analysis paralysis a little bit. We hear a lot about analysis paralysis in our business. But when you don't have time to waste, you're just like, all right, what am I supposed to do? I got to do these 3 things to make money. Cool. I'm doing them. I've got 3 hours. So every day I basically take like 3 solid hours where it's like intense focus. I do the, 3 activities a day that make a lot of money. And then the rest of my hours, I fit in the emails and the networking and the other things, but as long as I don't waste time, that's the number one key takeaway.
And how did you go about figuring out what those key money-making activities are for you,
Right.
Or how would other people go about figuring out them for themselves?
Well, you got to think, okay, so look at your business. Okay. What could you do every day if there was only 3 items that you could do for period? You can't do anything else. What are the 3 items that would still put money in your pocket? What are the crucial top 3 items? Like for a real estate investor, wholesaler, somebody, who's marketing maybe directly to sellers. For me, it's talking to seller leads. It is making offers on houses, and it's pushing more marketing out to talk to more seller leads. So those are like the 3 things I focus on. I'm in a position now where I've hired out some of these activities. So I'm more making sure those things are happening, those 3 things. So with talking with seller leads, I'm making sure my acquisition manager is talking to seller leads. I'm then making sure the marketing has gone out, and I'm planning my marketing calendar for the next couple months, and I'm analyzing the marketing that comes in. And then I'm making sure that we get a certain amount of offers out, and checking how many contracts we're getting in and things like that. So I'm in now more of a management role of those 3 items. But prior to that, I was doing all of this myself. So I would talk to sellers. I was making offers. I was making sure, okay, I'd set goals like, okay, how many offers do I need to hit a month or a week or whatever? How many sellers does that mean I need to talk to? And then how much marketing do I need to do to get those sellers in, to talk to that many sellers, to make that many offers, to close that many deals. So I know my numbers pretty well.
Knowing your numbers is definitely a big thing. That's a big thing in business of any type. And that's the difference between owning a job and owning a business, is really knowing your numbers. And I'm always working on getting better at that. But I want to circle back to this whole idea of, being a parent and using that as actually a reason, because it sounds like you've built your whole life around being able to have time to be able to spend with the kids. And sure, you could scale this business to a whole different level. You could go back and get a corporate job again if you so desired, which you don't. But I feel like what I'm hearing from you is that instead of it being an excuse, it seemed like it was actually the reason that you had to succeed in this business.
Oh yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely is, because, when I had my daughter, and her first year, she got sick like every 3 weeks. Like, it was hard. Wow. I mean, she was just that kid that was always sick. I mean, major, but it was just like constant, and it was really hard. Like I would have to like beg random people to watch my kids so I could go to work. It was so tough. So I don't know. I just didn't want to live that way. And so I always have it in the back of my head. Like if you can't make this work, you're going to have to go back to that life. And those little kids are going to have to sit in daycare till 6 o'clock at night. And you're going to be so tired by the time you pick them up. You're never really going to see them very much. You're not going to be able to like go to the, events at school that are so important to them. So that's like always like that fire, underneath my butt to like keep it going. So anytime I want to give up or I don't want to do something, or, like, in our business that our cheese moves, quite a bit. If you've read that book, Who Moved Your Cheese? Or I can't remember what that book was called, Who Moved My Cheese or whatever. In our business, like you could be doing something for like 3-4 months and then all of a sudden it's like, this doesn't work anymore. Too many people are doing it and now it's saturated. So you got to find something else. Or you need to go to a different territory, or you need to go from flipping houses to wholesaling houses, or from wholesaling houses to flipping houses. So every time like something's not working, I start feeling it. I can tell like, okay, wait, we're not getting as many contracts as we did 2 months ago. What's going on? And then it's like, okay, I think I got my cheese moved again. I got to figure this out because I've got those 2 kids I have to pick up every day from school and I have to feed them and I don't want to get a job. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you've figured out, exactly what you want. You want this lifestyle. You want the freedom of the time to be able to spend with the family. And real estate is just a vehicle to getting there. And every time it changes, you just got to change with it. I think that's really powerful. It's a heck of a reminder because I've seen it in the 3 years that I've been in this business. You've been in it a lot longer than I have. The cheese has moved a lot, especially of recent. Seems to move every month. I can't even keep track of the numbers. Things that made us a ton of money 6-8 months ago also lost us money in the last month or two. And so it's very fascinating how things move and you just have to move with it. But as long as you have that motivation comes from a deeper place, you're going to keep changing when you need to change.
Yep, 100%.
So talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges that you've dealt with, but more so about how you keep getting up. Because when people hear your story and they hear, okay, well, single mom and she's making all this money and, she's killing it and she's having all this success, but I know how it is behind the curtain. We all have challenges. Talk to me about some of the challenges that you've dealt with of recent and a little bit about how you kind of overcame those so you could keep moving forward.
Ooh, how deep do you want to get? How vulnerable should I be? Because I have gone through kind of a recent challenge. And I really did actually have to put some thought into this. I even sought out some help from my mentor because I was like, I'm really going through something right now. And I'm having a really hard time staying focused. So, he actually gave me some really good advice. And I think it's worth a shot sharing it with you guys. So I had, like about 6 months ago, I had a pretty gnarly breakup with a boyfriend, and we moved in together, and the rug was pulled out from under me, and he didn't want to do that anymore, and I had to move out. And I had to pack up my kids, and it was a big home I had to pack up. And I had to find a place to live. I needed to get out of there because it was not really a fun living environment. So I had to do all of this in about 2 weeks. So it was crazy. So it was like go mode. I just said, forget it. I'm going to call movers. I'm going to hire help. Like I hired help. I figured out, okay, how do I just get out of this house and then find a decent place to live? And so I just kind of put project in front of me. I made a list and it was like, all right, found a place to live, check. Hired movers, check. Packing boxes on Sunday, check, right? By the time it was all said and done, I moved and it was like, okay, dust settled. I'm unpacked, and now I have to kind of emotionally deal with what just happened. And I thought I could just go back to work like Monday morning, like you're fine, like keep doing those 3 things for 3 hours that make you money, right? Well, no, Like I was a wreck. Like I would just sit there and like stare at my like computer and like I could not think about anything other than just what just happened and how traumatic it was for me and how devastating it was to be, it's heartbreak. And it was like, I was in this relationship for 3 years and just devastated, and it was like a month goes by and I'm still like, I can't do anything other than just like stare at the computer. Like I can hardly get myself to work. All I would do is just like answer emails. That was like the best I can do. I'm so thankful I have a really good team. I have employees that kept going when I just couldn't really push them. They still kept going. They didn't need me, on them, so I was really fortunate with that. But when I hit about like a month and a half of just being like really, really down and having a really hard time staying focused, I talked to a mentor of mine because I do have a mentor and I think everybody should have a mentor. A quick tip on that. I talked to my mentor.
I couldn't agree more.
I opened up. I was like, hey, I got to be honest with you about what's going on. I didn't really tell you, this thing's been going on in my life and my life's been uprooted. And, I'm just now like, I'm really having a hard time. And he's like, Lauren, well, you kind of just heard me say it, but he's like, you need to focus on just the bare minimum that'll keep this ship moving forward. So he's like, you don't even have to do it. Just make sure leads are coming in, like I have a database where I can see leads coming in. He's like, check that leads are coming in, check that your employees are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and just make sure, you're getting contracts in. It should take you 30 minutes every day. Just do that every single day for 30 minutes. Gather everything you can, all the energy you can to just for 30 minutes, like stay focused and just do that. And then the rest of the day you can like watch videos on YouTube like that. You can do whatever you want. And it was interesting, so I would get every day I'd go, okay, it's like 9:00. I'd go to my workout and then I'd go, okay, you're just do this. And I would do that 30-minute task of just making sure everyone else on my team, was doing what they're supposed to be doing. And what I found is like slowly, like I was able to do like one extra thing a day because I'd be on a roll, like you're on a roll, you're like, all right, well, might as well like do this, or then, okay, do that. So I'd start kind of building from there. And, it was a crappy, 3 months of me being in a fog and being sad. And that's, I'm like everyone else. I get sad. Like I have things happen in my life and I'm not superwoman. Like I can definitely get down just like anyone else. But I think, just that advice of just doing what, those just the bare minimum of like what you need to do, that really helped me. And I think like another thing with my kids, like I tried to not overdo it with my kids. Like I bought them, I put money in their meal account at school. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm not packing lunches. Like, I'm just not. I can't even. Make it easy. I made life super easy. I bought those like meal delivery service type kits and stuff. Like, I was like, I'm not cooking. I literally was like, I'm done. I'm done cooking. I'm not cooking. I'm not doing anything until I get out of this fog. And so, I think that really, really helped me. Like that advice helped me a lot. When you're going through something really hard, just focus on the absolute bare minimum. Try to hire out or, hire out the cleaning in your house, like hire out the cooking if you can, or just buy like, if you can't afford like to hire the cooking or get a meal delivery service, like go to like grocery outlet and get like, those TV dinners or something. Just do whatever just to survive until you're feeling, mentally better to keep going.
Well, I think one big takeaway here is that like we all deal with challenges and we often don't know the challenges other people are dealing with, right? We don't really know. And so when something like this comes up for you and you're in a situation where life just changed rapidly, you're grieving the relationship that was important to you, you thought you had it, now it's no longer here, and it's going to affect work. And so we have to realize that we're human and that we have to take a step back and just do the most important things to keep the ship moving in that right direction. And sure as heck hope that we have the right people in place to keep doing that stuff, but knowing that it's okay to not move forward as fast as we once did until we're back in a place where we feel ready to. And we have to give ourselves grace, because I think we often hear on a lot of interviews or a lot of people talking about all the good times, but frankly, this is life. bad stuff's going to happen. And when it happens, we need to just understand that, hey, this happened and I've got to deal with it. And, I can't run away from it. I can't hide from it. At some point it's going to come out if I do. And so, I really appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that, because it's in those moments that other people have the opportunity to grow by knowing that we're not all perfect and we're all just trying to get by and do a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. And, what's crazy about everything like that happened, although I was really unproductive for maybe, 2-3 months, like I was kind of just, trucking along doing bare minimum. Once I got like mentally to a place where like my, I would say my serotonin and dopamine levels probably are leveled out and are of normal range, and I'm happy again. I'm like smiling. I'm going out with friends. Like I'm kind of back to my normal way of happy Lauren. Like my productivity level has skyrocketed. It's bananas. Like I'm getting into different things. I'm going into a different market. I've started like a side coaching and consulting business. And I'm like, where did this all come from? Because I was useless for 3 months. And then now with, the weight of that relationship off and I have more free time, I'm happy again. I've been able to apply that like extra energy into some really cool projects that like I don't think I would have done had this not all happened. So really it's like you can afford to take 2 to 3 months off. Like if you're going through something, take 2 to 3 months off, like go to therapy, like, eat, pray, love, like do whatever you need to do to like make, yourself like feel better. And then once you get to that place, like you'll wake up and you'll start, feeling productive. You'll start going to the gym, every day again. You'll start doing your normal activities that you used to do. And then don't be afraid to like try something different, pick up a different project, open up a side business, because I think it's like in these times where major change happens for people. At least that's how I feel like it's been for me.
That's great advice. That's some really good advice. So on a different note, talk to me a little bit about how you would define success, or what is success to you?
Man, it's not money focused. I think success really is just having control over your life. Just being, having some control over your schedule, having control over your life, being able to manifest things that you want. And I think that's different for everybody. Like everybody wants different things. Like some people really want like the beach house or the nice cars. Like some women really love like designer clothing. Like, so, and there's nothing wrong with that. For me, it was freedom of schedule. I didn't really want, like, I wanted the ability to be a creator and not have somebody above me creating things and then I have to like fulfill their creations. I loved being the creator. I love like the creative freedom I have with owning my own company. So I think that for me, that was my wants, was creative freedom, freedom of schedule. And just being able to have done that for myself is really cool. And I'm very thankful every day for that.
That's amazing. That's amazing, because you've definitely done that. I can definitely see that. What are some of the Keystone habits, the things you do on a daily or weekly basis that have helped you get to that point?
So I am pretty strict on my schedule. I do stay on a schedule for the most part. I have kids, so they screw that up quite a bit. That's the one thing, as like a type A person with 2 kids, I've had to let go of that like control where I want to control my schedule all the time, but I still try to maintain the order. Especially too, I co-parent. So we've got this custody schedule thing in the mix. Like I've got to be really good about sort of knowing, my calendar. Non-negotiables are, I work out almost every day. Even if it's like a walk, like I'll count that as a workout, but I do like probably 4 hard workouts a week, non-negotiable. And then I either like run or hike or something the other days. I think taking care of my body, like when your body is healthy, you're healthier. You're not getting sick as often. You just feel better. You have more energy. I do try to eat pretty healthy. I only drink on the weekends. I do drink though. But I try to live some basic, healthy. I live a healthy lifestyle. Non-negotiable would be like working out, every day. I love like listening. I'm always educating myself. So ways you can do that when you're too busy to read a book would be like Audible. Audible is amazing. Download Audible and always have an Audible book that you're listening to. So I've always got an Audible book I'm listening to, and they range from all sorts of topics. I almost would be really embarrassed if somebody like got access to my Audible list, especially in the last 3 months. It would probably be very embarrassing. I'm always every day, like listening to something in the car or when I'm doing my runs. Like when I go on a run, I love like listening to an Audible. Other habits, I try to every week reach out to somebody who is successful, like more successful than I am in the terms of how I define that in my business. So I try, or equal, I try to reach out to people that are at my level or a little bit above me so I can, kind of see what they're doing. And that's just a quick phone call, networking, even at something like this, to just kind of hear like, hey, what's working for you? And chat with, you for, 15, 20 minutes, whatever. That keeps me in the game.
I love it. Well, those are some good habits, some things people can apply directly in their own lives. So we've made it to my favorite part of the show, the Growth Rapid Fire Round, where the questions are quick, but the answers don't need to be. Okay. So Lauren, tell us, what's a book that's impacted your life the most, or one you're excited about right now?
Oh, I always go to The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. 100% my fave.
It's a very good book. From an inspiration standpoint, who are some of your mentors, and how do you look at finding a great mentor in your life?
Ooh, God, who are my mentors? I always have like a bunch of mentors that I'm looking at. In our business, like I love some of just our friends, like you, honestly, like what you're doing with this podcast is incredible. Brent Daniels, like he's super inspirational to me right now. The guys at Wholesale Inc., super inspirational. I would say like those are more industry wide. And then as the female mentor would be, or like someone that I'm kind of interested right now. I love that woman from Shark Tank, Barbara Corcoran. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah.
I probably know how to say. She's a badass. I just think she's really cool. I've been like following her on Instagram. And Rachel Hollis, I really like Rachel Hollis. I like her message. I've been kind of, more applying that to my like more social stuff, and my coaching. So yeah, those are some of my faves right now.
She's amazing, and she's a phenomenal speaker. And like you said, Wholesaling Inc., Cody Hoffine, Tom Kroll. Cody was on the podcast, episode 13. If you guys haven't listened to that episode, check that one out. Nice. And so finally, purpose. What drives you to live your best life every day? Oh,
my kids. 100. That's an obvious answer, I think. But my kids, I want to, I really feel like when you have children, like it's your job to like better yourself. So then they're better versions of you. And then they'll just break whatever, drama and baggage I have. I want to break that chain so they don't have it. So that drives me every day is my kids.
Well, this has been wonderful. It's been really good talking to you. And I think you've been really an inspiration to a lot of people out there, a lot of parents who are trying to make excuses about why they can't succeed, when really those same excuses need to be the reasons to drive them forward. So where can people find out more about you or get in touch?
Well, I'm pretty active on Instagram, and I'm going to be more active soon. So follow me on Instagram. My handle is thismomflips. Or you can email me if you want to put those in the show notes. It's lauren@tmfrealestate.com.
Wonderful. We'll include all that in the show notes. And Lauren, thank you so much. It's been so much fun catching up with you here, and I can't wait till the next time we get to hang out.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Investor Mindset Podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Head over to theinvestormindset.com to join the Insider Club, where we share tools and strategies from the top investors and entrepreneurs on how to take it to the next level.